As the high-stakes U.S. Iran talks come crashing down once again, is Vladimir Putin quietly stepping in with a new and potentially game-changing nuclear proposal? Could Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium really be handed over to Moscow? The Kremlin has now spoken, and its response may surprise many analysts. After Donald Trump's warning about blocking the Strait of Hormuz, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov hits back. Is a fresh nuclear twist from one of Iran's closest allies turning into a major headache for Donald Trump? A surprise proposal has now entered the global stage. As marathon U.S. Iran negotiations collapsed in Islamabad, Russia suddenly appears to be stepping into the diplomatic vacuum, with a striking uranium plan of its own. On April 13th, the Kremlin declared that Moscow is ready to accept Iran's enriched uranium as part of a proposed deal. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov confirmed that the offer still stands, though neither side has acted on it, raising questions about what's holding the agreement back. Under this plan, Iran's enriched nuclear material will be moved out of the country, a potential first step toward a wider peace framework that remains uncertain for now. Peskov revealed that the offer was shared with the United States and regional partners, but, as he put it, the idea wasn't in demand. What made key nations walk away?
Принять иранский обогащенный уран, оно все еще в силе?
Это предложение было озвучено президентом Путиным в контактах и с Соединенными Штатами, и с региональными государствами. Это предложение в силе, но оно не было востребовано. Еще, пожалуйста.
То есть оно в силе. Оно в силе, можно сказать так, что оно в силе.
Я сказал, оно не было востребовано. Ну, собственно, Россия открыта. Россия продолжает быть открытой для того, чтобы предоставить любые добрые услуги, которые будут способствовать деэскалации напряженности вокруг Ирана.
Peskov also launched a sharp attack on Donald Trump's warning to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, calling the move reckless and dangerously destabilizing amid the ongoing Iran conflict. The Kremlin spokesperson cautioned that such actions could further shake already fragile international markets, with ripple effects felt far beyond the Gulf.
Учитывая, что на договоренность выйти не удалось, насколько мы понимаем, то, конечно, конфликтный потенциал остается. Мы видим определенные заявления со стороны Вашингтона, планы по блокаде иранского побережья. Во что это выльется, мы пока не понимаем. Это будет в любом случае иметь негативные последствия для международных рынков в разных сегментах. Но ситуация пока далека от разрешения. Хочется надеяться, что она не вернется в вооруженную.
The Kremlin's nuclear offer arrives after 21 hours of tense U.S.-Iran negotiations ended in failure, leaving the diplomatic pathway toward peace hanging by a thread. Meanwhile, reports suggest Donald Trump might revive limited military strikes on Iran, a move that could reignite full-blown tensions across the Middle East. Trump and his advisors are reportedly studying plans for limited strikes, while also weighing the option of blocking the Strait of Hormuz, combining pinprick attacks with economic strangulation to squeeze Tehran further. These developments were reported by the Wall Street Journal on April 12, citing multiple U.S. officials who described internal debates over how far Trump is really willing to go against Iran. Trump could in theory return to full-fledged bombing campaigns against Iran, but officials quoted in the report said that scenario was less likely, reflecting fears of a spiraling conflict the U.S. cannot easily control. Officials told the Wall Street Journal that a full war could further destabilize an already fragile region, and that the president remains deeply averse to long, open-ended conflicts that could trap U.S. forces for years. According to the Wall Street Journal report, Trump could also seek a temporary maritime blockade on Iran, all while ramping up pressure on U.S. allies to shoulder more of the burden in any escalation. The president could push allies to take responsibility for a prolonged naval escort mission, forcing them to commit ships and manpower to protect tankers while Washington tries to keep its own costs down. However, officials also said Trump remains open to a diplomatic solution, using the threat of force as leverage while still leaving space for a last-minute deal that he can sell as a personal victory. The White House declined to publicly discuss Trump's specific military and diplomatic options, adding to the sense of secrecy and uncertainty over what Washington might do next. U.S. officials warned that any option Trump chooses next will carry major risks, whether it is limited strikes, a wider war, or a naval blockade that could ignite new clashes at sea. The Wall Street Journal reported that relaunching a full-scale war would further drain critical American munitions, stretching already pressured stockpiles and exposing weaknesses in America's ability to sustain prolonged combat. A prolonged conflict would also expose Trump to stronger backlash from voters who are deeply skeptical of endless Middle East wars, threatening both his political standing and his image as a dealmaker. A successful naval blockade could choke Iran's vital oil revenue and tighten the economic noose, but so far Tehran has refused to buckle under intense sanctions and pressure from Washington. Meanwhile, as Trump weighed his options against Iran, the Israeli army quietly prepared for the possibility of war, aligning its own plans with the shifting signals coming out of Washington. The Times of Israel, citing Hebrew media, reported that the IDF is gearing up for a renewed conflict with Iran, ramping up readiness and planning for multiple fronts. These revelations came less than a week after a fragile 2-week ceasefire ended, and just hours after Iran-USA talks failed, underscoring how quickly the region is sliding back toward confrontation. On April 12, the IDF chief ordered the army to be at a heightened state of readiness, according to Yet, signaling that Israeli forces must be prepared for sudden escalation at any moment. Channel 12 reported that the IDF is also preparing for the possibility of an Iranian surprise attack on Israel, running scenarios and drills to respond rapidly if Tehran decides to strike first. A senior defense official told Khan that Israel is interested in renewing war against Iran, a stark admission that suggests some in Tel Aviv see another round of conflict as both inevitable and desirable. Israeli military intelligence is reportedly increasing the pace of building up its target bank of sites inside Iran. Priority targets include missile systems, launchers, and the support infrastructure that keeps them supplied and hidden across the country. Officials say this accelerated update is meant to ensure operational flexibility, so strike options can be launched quickly if politicians give the word. The Israeli Air Force is also finalizing strike packages built around long-range capabilities and complex, multi-wave raids. These plans include both pinpoint precision strikes and the option for sustained air operations if a broader conflict with Iran resumes. The United States has announced it will begin a blockade of all maritime traffic to and from Iranian ports starting April 13th. This action follows an order from President Donald Trump to ratchet up pressure on Tehran after negotiations between the two sides failed. The blockade will apply to vessels of all nations that are entering or leaving Iranian ports and coastal areas along Iran's shoreline. According to reports, the restrictions will cover shipping routes across the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. However, U.S. officials say transit through the Strait of Hormuz to non-Iranian ports will not be affected and will be allowed to continue. These U.S. moves came as J.D. Vance failed to strike a deal with Iran despite marathon talks in Pakistan, leaving mediators frustrated and Washington searching for new pressure tactics. The U.S. claimed Iran refused to give up its nuclear program, while Tehran hit back hard, blasting what it called Washington's excessive and unrealistic demands that go far beyond any reasonable compromise.